YouTube. I think I managed to click the right button this time. I'm a wee bit early because I was worried I wasn't going to. What am I doing? What am I doing? I'm playing some. Hey, Craig. Stuart. Daniel. AJB, yeah. I've not decided whether I'm going to drink tonight yet. Probably will. Starship. Everyone else drinking? I will. I'll get that Ibanez. I'll take it with me. Diet Coke. Hey, Pontiac. Hey, Cameron. Have a good drive. Well, I've got a can of Red Bull there I was going to drink, but I was out playing poker last night with my pals, the Buckfast Poker Series, which I did years ago. Used to play with my pals every week for probably, I don't know, maybe 10 years every Thursday without fail. And then obviously since lockdown, we've not done it. This is the first time in a couple of years. So I get pure tanked, had a bottle of Bucky. So it's like 2 nights in a row. It might mean it will go down really easy, or it might mean it'll sort of turn green. And you might actually get to see the first ever, well, for me anyway, live puking on online. It's quite. I'm not really that worried about puking on anything because the window's right there. I can quite easily just boom, and then you'll just see my arse hang out the window and then hear me puking. So hopefully that's not going to happen. So cheers, everyone. Oh, gotta give it a shake first. Then it's like. And tonight, the bottle number is 16. Should be playing the wee Squire because it's number 16. Yeah, it's going down all right. Yeah. Yeah, so someone mentioned playing the Ibanez. I will stick it on in a bit. One of the things, I'm not a huge Floyd Rose fan. They're quite a lot of the time they're an absolute pig to set up, but even when they are set up, like that one, which is set up, that one's kind of cheating because it doesn't do up bends. This is before they realised that you could make a Floyd Rose bend back the way, so it's set flat flush. So I've just kind of got it set rock solid, for just down bends. But when the temperature varies in here, pure ridiculous in Scotland. It's like it's pure hot just now, and then in a couple of days' time, the weather might change. It'll be pure freezing. Obviously, all the guitars go out of tune because the strings either expand or contract. I can't remember which way around it goes. So there's only so much you can tune with the micro tuners. So if it's really out of tune, you have to unclamp the bit at the top, tune it, clamp it back up again, and it's annoying. I'd much rather just have just tuners because it's just like it's a whoop, 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 and you're all the way through. Hey, Craig, let's get going. Right. Arias, some are really expensive. Yes. The ones that aren't are the ones nobody knows about. It's kind of funny. So if you want to get a good Aria, you kind of got to know what you're looking for. I've actually got one here, which is a good one. Maybe not the most interesting looking guitar. This is a laser. Only made for 1 year, 1985. But this is like a top-notch one. And I got it on eBay for, you can probably find it actually, it wasn't that long ago I bought it. It was 150 quid or 152 quid for basically a pro-level guitar. But it's a really weird one that nobody really knows what it is. Kind of the only reason I haven't even saw it is because I happened to buy the bass version of it, a bass laser. Saw it on Gumtree. Some guy had found it at the dump and it was on Gumtree at 45 quid. It's like, so you're going to buy it, aren't you? Really? Anyway, he was only 10 minutes away. So I saw the ad immediately and went, right, taking that, I'll be over 10 minutes or 20 minutes, however long it was. And when I got there, the guy's like, up here, I think this might be a really good one. I've had about 100 phone calls. I was up here. Yeah, kind of. It's not a pure amazing one. I mean, the last one I saw go on eBay after that, it was like 190, 200 quid, something like that. You're talking about buying a pro-level instrument, though. Yeah, Craig, the Mac series, that's later. The Arias I like are the Japanese ones. They are better. They do tend to look quite odd, though. By the time you get to the Mac series, Mac kind of look like you're well into the Super Strat era, which is kind of. I'm not really a Super Strat fan. I've had this argument before of whether that's a Super Strat. Is it? You know, it's like I'm not. In many ways, it is because it's got Floyd Rose. It's sort of based on I suppose, if the Blazer here, which is just a few years before that. This is clearly just a Strat, and then so if you put humbuckers in this, that's they've put binding on it. They've kind of modified it, but it's basically this as its dad or its older brother. But the Maxis are very much Super Strat Korean, and I'm sure they're all right. Is that what the Max series are? I'm sitting here thinking, is there an M? Oh, if my pal Alan was on, I'd be able to say. What was the one that I did for him? MG. That's a Super Strat. A Mac is kind of... If you look at the serial number, it'll tell you what year it is. If it's assuming it's a bolt-on neck, it'll start with the year. So if it's like 7, blah, 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 it's 87. If it's made in Japan, it will say on the neck plate, made in Japan, if it's an Aria. If it doesn't, for that era, I think if you go back to the 70s and stuff like that, it might not. But for that era, it's like... But yes, they're good. They're Samick, so it's basically made in the same factory. It's like what you get now as your PRS SE or the Schecter Guitar Research, or who else uses that sort of factory? That is that kind of range. The Japanese ones are higher than that. But you're the guy that was talking about an Explorer. I've got a ZZ. I've got a ZZB bass. It's a Japanese one, and it's awesome. So that's it actually clamps onto your hand. It's like a trap. Bucky's not affecting me at all. I think I'm still probably get Bucky in my system from last night. But no, Aria Mac, if you like the look of it, I'm sure Aria don't think we ever really made really bad guitars. They're always good. It's just that they're not at the level of, in my favourite era. Right, before it scrolls past, Pontiac, working on my bass, low E, really loud. Took out foam and springs. Pickups mounted to the body, bottom of pickup pocket, put an angled wedge of walnut so the heights are all right. Might switch to DiMarzio's. The low E really loud. It's just, I suppose it depends what kind of pickup it is you've got in it. I wonder if the low E is really loud because is the A like restricted somehow? Is it maybe get stuck in the nut or something, or maybe something not quite right at the bridge? So it's not really just the fact that the E is really loud, it's the fact that the A is really quiet and it's kind of amplifying the E being really loud. I don't know. Hey, the one who knocks Mr. White, had to resolder the wires to pick up, suck at soldering. Soldering, I'm teaching my pal Dava how to solder, like kind of online just now, and it's just take your time. I think, I mean, it sounds like pure pointless and stupid, but see if you just sit like a couple of pots, just not actually in. That's really a problem with this guitar. It's like, stop you drinking. I'll just suffer it. I find it quite amusing, to be honest. Maybe see if you get like some components out, like a pot or something like that, and sit it on your desk, and then just practice maybe 10 or 15 times, soldering it on, like any random wires onto any lugs, and then, letting it cool off for a minute or whatever it is, seeing if you've got a good connection, and then taking it off and then doing it again. Like, do that 10 times when you're got hundreds of space and it doesn't matter. And once you've done it 10 times, that's you'll have learned how long you're meant to hold the wire on and how to do it and how to hold it and stuff like that. So that when you actually go inside the bass, when you've got to get it right and you're sitting and you're working, you're inside a control cavity, so you can't really get at it from all the angles and stuff. I use a set of sort of, they're just tweezers, but they're quite sturdy ones, just for holding things, holding the wire on and just trying to get the soldering iron in. And yes, you will burn your hands, and yes, you will burn other wires that you're not touching. So you're trying to solder on this wire, but obviously there's a wire that comes from the pickup, and you're soldering this bit, but you're touching here. That will happen. I tend to sit and try and sort of poke all the other wires out the way just to get me a clear run in at it, and just keep doing it. You said there about DiMarzio pickups. I do have a couple of basses with actual DiMarzios in them, like the DiMarzio P bass pickups. But I've also got a few basses that I've got DiMarzio copies, like Japanese basses, and there's not a massive difference. Like, if there's really any difference between the DiMarzios and the 80s Gotoh ones, I can't really compare them to a modern guitar. But the ones that they were sticking in the few Hondos that were made in Japan, the Arias, what else? The Washburns, those Gotoh copies are pretty damn close. Really, the only way you can really tell the difference is by sticking an Allen key into the wee Allen key pole pieces. And if it's the metric ones, it's not a DiMarzio. And if it's imperial sizes, it might be a DiMarzio. DiMarzios tend to say on the back of them, but they don't all, because the ones in my Schecter P bass don't say DiMarzio on them, but they do have the imperial things. And it was a £2,000 bass in 1986, so it's going to have the best in it. Everything's set up correct. Original Vantage pickup. Yeah, the Vantage would just be the same as the. I take it if it's does it have the 3-point bridge string? I don't know why. I mean, the thing is, if you're running, did you say P bass pickups? You didn't say P bass pickups, but I'm assuming they are. P bass pickups, because you get two, you can sort of lower it. You can kind of follow the curve of the strings, so you can really adjust the volume of each string by getting the two, the pickup split in half. So if you can kind of do that with it, or with much more control than you can with a single pickup. Then you've only got up and down. You can only do that with like any normal pickup. But the P bass ones, you can kind of make the two parts do that, just in case of fidgeting with it. Yeah, it's a bit. The tweezers. The DiMarzios are thinner, so more. Oh, right. I have had this very problem. I had to go in and route a few of my basses. When I joined the Black Sabbath band, I always played the bass. I hadn't really played in a band for years, and so I just had them all set up to be playing in the house. So it's like you're just playing as you do. When you start playing live and you're playing Black Sabbath, you end up having to pure thump the strings. And every bass I took in, the strings were pure battering off the pickups. So I had to lower them down, and I had to go in and Dremel out to get the pickups in my Washburn Scavenger, and my Aria PB 1500, which is like the top of the range Aria from 1980 or something like that. It's like a Les Paul through neck thing. I had to go in and physically route them out so I could get the pickups to go low enough so the strings didn't batter off them. So that could be part of the problem. I bet the Vantage is good though. Does it kind of look like the Hondo? It's a double cut Les Paul type affair. I don't actually have a Vantage bass. I've got a couple of Vantage electrics and they're really good. Just Vantage is just another one of those. The kind of there's a guitar that is kind of looks a little bit like a Washburn Wings sort of thing, like a double cut Les Paul with a sort of stringer in the middle. And I've nearly bought a few of them, but they're not exciting enough, really, if you've got a Washburn Wing, because it's got the fanciness. You know, it's like you're all blinged up. Whereas the Vantage is kind of, there's also an Aria that's very similar to it called a YS something. And I think the number, like a YS 200s, maybe like a bolt-on neck, and a YS 400s, maybe like a set neck, and then a 600s, you know, through neck sort of thing. But it's a similar sort of in that region area. I mean, whoever it was asking about the Aria guitars, I mean, as I said, the later on ones are great, they're fantastic, but if you end up you might end up with an addiction like me, where you end up starting going like, hold on, you can pick up these guitars, and if you look for it and wait for it and maybe buy one that looks a little bit odd, you can get guitars that should be 3 or 4 times the price that what they are. The same very much thing happens with the BC Riches. The NJ series, the original Japanese ones, are so much better than all the later on ones, but they're the same price because nobody knows what they are. So you just have to look at it and know what it is you're looking at, and not care the fact that it's pink. It's like, good fun. Low E. Low E's 3.5mm from the string. That's too close for me. I don't work in Black Sabbath because I'm giving it, especially, see, even worse now that I'm tuning down to C sharp on one of the basses, so the strings are even floppier and I'm absolutely thumping the thing. That wouldn't be any use for me. Hey Rob, how's it going? Mask in the corner is creepy. That's a Baby Metal mask, sort of. If you look in that picture there, you can see Baby Metal have them. There's what's the song? I think it's Megitsune. There's a bit where she comes out with the mask and it's like pure, for the quiet bit in the middle, wearing the mask, and she flings it away, and then it's all pure rocking and dancing. That was kind of quite a why I bought it. It's not an official Baby Metal merchandise, because if you're a Baby Metal fan, you've ever thought of looking up, I might buy some merch, don't even think about it. I mean, I'm a huge fan. I've been to see them 4 times, and I've not bought any of their stuff. I bought the 3 records, but the number of things, you look up DVDs and stuff like that, and when they come out, they're like 500 quid and stuff like that, and it's like, but obviously folk buy them. You see folk with big collections of these box set things and stuff like that. You know, they're hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds new, and then when they come out, you know, now once it's been out for 4 or 5 years, it becomes rare, so they just go up and up, and you just end up, it's just mental. So I think you can actually get proper Baby Metal masks. There was actually, they did a festival a few years ago. It was called the Five Fox Festival, which I quite liked. I loved the idea of this. So they were playing, I can't remember, it was somewhere in Japan, and they did like 5 nights in a row, and each night was a different colour. So if you buy the box set, the DVD, you get like a white mask for the white night, and there's a red one for the red night, and a silver one and all that, and each night was for different people. So the first night was like for like girls only, and then there was like a boys only, and then there was, I can't remember, it was 5 different things. One of them was you were only allowed, was it kids under 10 and adults over 60. So it was like just pure bizarre. And that night, you know, they had the lights on, and they didn't play as many of the heavy metal songs. They didn't bother with the crucifixions and stuff. There was a few different, you know, they did 5 different nights in the same place, and every night was completely different. I just thought it was a great idea. There's a part of the idea of having a concert where you're only allowed grandparents and grandkids. So ultimately, it just means that, you know, it's basically just this is for everyone. Well, it's not for everyone, because anyone who's not either over 60 or under 10 can't go. But I just thought it was a mental way of doing it. Fantastic. Aria YS 350, that's one of them. Yes. Never bought one, never seen one cheap enough for me to buy. bearing in mind, cheap enough to me, I can buy that one there for 150 quid. So that kind of range, they're always more than that. But I mean, you're talking about comparing it to, say it's 350 or 400 pound. If you put that up against what you can buy new for 300 or 400 quid, you know, you're in Epiphone, not even the top end of the Epiphone or the top end of the Squire's, like miles better than that. It just doesn't look that way. Tune down a half step. Is that so you don't? I joined a band once. I think they were actually called the E flats. Why? Just for, is it for singing? I think I can understand it for singing when it's like it just means you're not quite. If all the songs are in A, you know, it's like you don't have to push quite as hard to get there. But and I think is it Guns N' Roses not do that as well? I always thought Guns N' Roses were amazing for learning to play the guitar too, because so many of their songs have a rhythm guitar through them that is, you know, plain open chords. It's pure great. The only thing is you've got to tune the guitar down half a step, which makes it really annoying. I just like having my guitars in E. I'm really difficult with tuning anything else. It took me 6 months to get the Black Sabbath, or more than that, before the Black Sabbath band actually made me go, right, okay, I'll bring a second bass and tune it to C sharp. You know what I mean? Okay, I'll do that. I tried using a 5-string bass at the start and stuff to get that extra note, but it's more of a feel thing rather than to get the extra note, because even the songs we're playing, it just means that basically every song's in E pretty much if you're tuned to C sharp. So it's like that's how they were written. So you can bend the strings more, and it's easier to cover stuff. Yeah. Just pressed the original valve on my AVT20. Is that an advanced valve state tech 20? Was that a B? Maybe. So it's only got one valve. Is that there's an AVT? I don't know enough about amps. The thing is, I'm tempted. I don't know if you've noticed, I'm actually running a different amp tonight. I'm now on the PV Valve King. Did a video for it last night. I've now got it plugged through my 3x12 cabinet, and I'm really impressed with it. But if I was going to be messing about with different valves, that's the amp to do it in, because it's only got 2. It's like, yay! Whereas I think maybe Laney's got 4, 2 in and 2 out. Something like that. So if you're going to change valves, all the valves in your amp, like, I mean, it's going to cost, I don't know, what are valves, like 15, 20 quid each. Mind you, if they were that much, I'd basically, that's more than what I paid for the amp. But yeah, so I don't know anything about valves. I do know that the Softtech still has its original valves in it from when I bought it brand new 20 years ago. And the wee Laney, when I got it, the guy said it's had the valves changed. And then after a couple of years, it started buzzing, and I got the valve changed again, and it's now back to sort of buzzing again. So I don't know whether you maybe just get some amps where it's maybe just something to do with the architecture or the way it's built. It eats valves. So I don't know. To be honest, I can't believe that sounds as good as it does. Maybe it's just because I'm not really using very much of it. I'm quite happy just having a volume control, really, or it's got a gain and a volume, which is nice. The main thing I like about it is it's got a light bulb on the front, whereas the Laney, it's on the top, so at least I can look at it and go, oh, I've left the amp on. Whereas the other one, I kind of have to look over the top to see a wee red light bulb. Jess, late in washing the Mercs. That sounds like you get mercenaries? Yeah. I thought you were in England somewhere. It sounds like the Mercs was like you got hosed down the Mercs who are like guarding your plantation in Africa. Sorry, I'm drunk. It's like bad jokes are part of it. Yeah, for singing, I know lots of folk have done it for singing. I don't sing. I guess if the singer in my band, if I was going to do that, then I suppose I would tune down. I suppose you'll just get used to tune. Mind you, if you're going to set your guitar up with a pure super turbo low action, then it might be a bit of an issue tuning down half a step. But any of the guitars I've got, if you tune them down half a step, and not really going to make any difference. Maybe have to adjust like a Floyd Rose or something like that. But I mean, any fixed one or something that's not really half a step, nothing. You know what I mean? I suppose you could just get the. You could maybe use a different, like a lighter, less tension, a slightly higher gauge of strings. You know, if you went from 9s to 10s, nines in normal tuning and tens, it would just be probably exactly the same tension or somewhere around about there. Changes the colour. Yeah, we spell it with a U though here. Hey Scott, how's it going? So what do you think? Is that your guitar? I'll be going down to see come and see you next week, because yesterday I didn't have it. I ran out of Saturday at Scott's videos and I had to just do one when I was out in the car, just talking absolute rubbish. And like evening Jeff, thanks for joining in. I'm as usual just getting a bit steaming, nice and early. I don't know what sort of nick I'm going to be in tomorrow. Last week I was pure floored after drinking a whole bottle of this on live streaming. I can kind of already feel that happening a little bit. Pontiac Russian valves are the best. Tubes America valves here. Yeah, see, the thing is, I've got a Softtech. You're talking about Softtech valves. I bought my Softtech brand spanking new, right? The valves in it say Marshall on them. So I think one of the reasons I got it brand spanking new, I mean, I know that thing was in the shop for definitely, I'm pretty sure it was in the first time I ever was in the shop. So maybe 5 years later I bought it. You know, and I think what's happened is it was really cheap. I remember it being like 150 quid for ages, and then it kept going down and down and down, and then eventually it went to 50 and I bought it. Yeah, I did. I bought a Softtech MiG 60 for 50 quid. But I think maybe they had an expensive amp in. I mean, it was a bit of a dodgy shop. It's not there anymore. Called Mr. Music, it was called. Basically, it was owned by Victor Morris. And I think what's happened is they've had an expensive amp in, like a GCM 800 or something like that. And rather than buying valves for it, they've just nabbed the valves out of that. And then they've just put whatever in that. I have never changed the valves on it, partly because I'm scared to, in case it doesn't sound the way it does. The way the Softtech sounds is basically, it's clean in the house sort of thing. But as soon as you get it up to playing along with a drum kit volume, you've got, like, if you've got the guitar at sort of 3/4 volume, you can get a sort of clean, not clean, but sort of clean. And if you put that up to full bung, it sounds like you've got a rat pedal on. And it absolutely suits me fantastic. And I just worry if I put valves in it that aren't, because those valves are maybe broken or doing something wrong or the wrong type or something. I'm worried it'll sound like a normal amp, not like what it is. I'll have a look at valves. I need to change valves, and I need to get another shot of the valves in the wee Laney. I tried swapping over. The thing is, it's annoying about the Laney is, it's like, I'm not talking about the volume. It's fine when it's playing. I'm talking about when I'm just sitting here and the amp's on. It's just kind of like a bzzz, and it's just one of those. I mean, where I live is pure stupid quiet. It's kind of a bit worse now. I got my pal Dava gave me a PC, or sold me a PC, and it's got a fan in it, and it really did my head in for ages because it's just got like a fan on all the time. Whereas here it's so quiet. Like, it's so quiet. See, at night, right? Open the window, I can hear sheep shouting at each other, and there's no, you know, and we're talking about 2 miles away is the nearest field in that direction, but I can hear that, you know, sheep murdering each other. That's how quiet it is here. I've heard, I think JJ, do they not, correct me if I'm wrong, well, you don't have to, you can correct me if you want, I won't listen, but I think JJ don't actually make valves. What they do is they buy like truckloads of valves from wherever it is, and they test them. I think the problem with valves is it's like there's not really that consistent. So it's a case of, you know, you buy 10 cheap valves. One of them might be really good. 2 or 3 of them are probably pretty good, and then a couple of them will be absolute pants. Do you know what I mean? And then the rest will be just below average. So I think the JJ ones, basically, they buy that, and they buy 100 valves or whatever like that, and maybe 10 or 12 of them or something like that are the ones that pass the tests and stuff. So they go, right, and then they get JJ stamped on them as premium valves, even though I think they're probably from the same place as the cheap nasty valves. It's just that there's no consistency in it. 10 to 48 when I'm medium high, so I think I'm 10 to 46. It's not something I would ever really 10 to 46. I don't know. I just bought 10s. I do remember one time buying Zach Wild strings for my SG in the corner there, and it was nuts. I can't remember. They were like bass strings, 3 bass strings, and then 3 sets of 9s, and they were because I was in standard tuning, they were dead taut. it was pure heart playing them. It was pure bunk. You know, it was like the string tension was really over the top. I think they're really designed for drop D or something like that, or just down tuned. The Russians were never able to reverse engineer solid state transformers, so they continued to develop the valve. That I've not heard that before. It could be true. I don't know. I mean, I was told when I bought I was told about the Sovtech. It was like the guy from Electro Harmonics. Because they made the big muff pedal first, and it was like I heard that the Soviet Union had shut down, and they'd got like a big, was it Star City? It says on the back of it, somewhere called Star City, and they've got that's where they made everything, you know, like all this sort of communist, I don't know, TVs and tannoys and radio broadcast stations and submarines and tanks and all that stuff were made in this, and that's basically for the big muff. They went, can you copy this circuit? And they went, of course we can. Oh, I can't do a Russian accent. Yes. And that's like Sean Connery doing a Russian accent. So they just kind of made the circuit, and it's like, we don't have all the bits. We don't have a 1.1K resistor, but we've got a 1K that'll do, and we don't have a 0.22 cap. We've got a 0.21, and it's like everyone was just like different. You ended up with something different, and that's basically what they did with the amp. That's meant to be Marshall Plexi, which in itself, the Marshall Plexi was meant to be a Fender Bassman. But in London, when the Marshall factory, they tried to copy the Fender Bassman and didn't have the right kind of valves. So they were like, we won't use them, we'll use this type of valve. And instead of those transformers, we don't have that, but we'll use this one. So they ended up with the same circuit, but with all the components were slightly different. That's the same again, all the components. When you look inside it, they've all got like backwards Ks on them and stuff like that, you know, because it's like they're Russian. So it's like everything's sort of does the same thing in the same order, but every value is different, so you end up with a completely different amp, and it doesn't sound like an old Marshall. It sounds like a JCM 800 or something like that, which I don't think it was designed to be. I'm waiting for GHS Pedals to do a video on them, because that was really when I first saw his videos. I was like, look, there's a big bank of Sovtech. See behind him when he's talking, he's got like about 10 of them or 15 of them, all dunk, 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 dunk. None of them, I put snakeskin on it. That one in the. So obviously he rates them, but he's never done a video on them, so I don't really know anything more than that about them. I do know they reissued it last year, the year before, and it was like 800 quid for the reissue, and it's like I paid 50 quid brand new for the real one. Oops. So that was just I didn't know what it was I had. The reason I never bought it when it was 150 quid and then when it was 120 quid is because I wanted an amp that had distortion on it, and it's like, it doesn't have distortion on it. It's got like a gain and a master, but master and preamp. I thought to get distortion you had to have a switch that said distortion. That's how long ago this is. I think I bought that on my 19th birthday or something like that. But I mean, yes, they could have continued to develop the valve. Maybe it's the idea of just like, maybe they were, because valves are known technology, or maybe it's just like because they don't want to upgrade the whole system, they just continue making it. It's like they're running, I don't know, like a tank or something like that. Does it really matter whether a tank's 40 years old? It's a big metal beast with a gun on it. It's like, that's fine, still usable. So you might, rather than actually have to rip the guts out to put in like a transistor radio rather than just leave the valves in it, maybe that's why they continued doing it. A lot of hearsay here, I don't know, I'm just guessing. Hot Rocks, but I'm sure, I think people do valves. Craig, who's the guitarist in my band, the Black Sabbath band, is going on about buying, what he calls it? Buying glass. So spending money on glass, and it's like, I think is glass maybe a type of crack or something like that, or type of meth. What is it they do in Breaking Bad? Crystal meth. Do they not call it glass? I don't know, but he's not. He's talking about valves, Mullard valves. He's after. He's buying them, and whereas he's got like a Flint Amps handmade job, and he's always talking about buying valves. And I think he spends more on valves than I do on a guitar. But I mean, fair play to him. 10-40 is high action. We've got the Russian. I don't know Hot Rods, but I mean, yes, there must be. There's a whole valve thing. I'm too much of a if it ain't broke, don't fix it thing. But maybe, as I said, maybe it's worthwhile trying different valves in a wee PV, since it's only got two. So I could really just buy. And there's so little in that amp. It's pure stupid. See, when you go in, there's very little in the Sovtech as well, to be honest. The Softec doesn't have like a circuit board though. It's just like the thing at the the valve socket thing. It's got like prongs coming out the bottom, and it's just got components hardwired between that and the next thing. So it's like like there's capacitors put in the air just between all the bits. I think it's called point-to-point wired, but there's no turret boards or any of that stuff. It's just here's the bottoms of the valves, and it's just like things going across. And I was actually told when I bought that they weren't allowed to make that kind of amp anymore because it gave you radiation poisoning. So that was totally have to buy it now. Victor Morris still a shop where you could buy a guitar amp and a chib. Victor Morris was see some of the stuff I bought in there. I remember buying. My brother used to, or he still does, films, and it was his birthday, and I went into Victor's. So I bought him a crossbow, like a pistol-sized crossbow, and it was like 20 quid. And this thing was terrifying. And I was like buying it. I was like, I said, give him the money. He's like, really? I can just buy this? And the guy's like, up here, yeah. I thought I'd need like at least my passport or ID or something. No, you could just buy it. And this thing shot crossbow bolts. And it was terrifying. I think, to be honest, my wee brother disconnected it because he was using it. I was just thinking of it as a prop. But this thing it should not have been allowed. But they used to go in there and they'd have swords and things like that, and the sort of glass bit on the left. Some of the stuff you'd look at, and some of these knives were just like make the Klingon knives look boring. These things would just be pure ridiculous. I don't think. Well, Victor Morris isn't still there, but the guitar store had been closing down for the last few years, and the last time I was in there, I bought a P-Bass for $5. It's like, yeah, $5. I think it was a red Encore P-Bass, and it's like you're sitting there. A $5 that, do you want to buy a bag for it? And it's like the cheapest bag they had was 15 quid. It was like, no. So I just carried a P-Bass. I was in the train for some reason that day. So I'm just like walking down the road with a P-Bass on my shoulder with no bag. And it's like, it turned out the neck was knackered. That was why it was a $5, but it had like tuners on it and a bridge and a pickup. How can you get wrong for a $5? Even in the Untick on. We did a Malco Valve Masterclass. My Valve Masterclass is totally, that's it, you've had it. I don't know anything about valve amps. I was kind of scared to go into that. I had to go into that amp because the handle was missing. And it's like, it's kind of like bolted into the top. It's not just screws. So it's like, I had to go in it. In fact, someone must have done that before because the bolts were missing, but the actual nuts weren't rattling about inside it. So it must have been in bits. You look at it and it's like, there's 6 components. So I bolted the two tops on, the two handle things on, and then added in an external speaker socket, that's within my state. But I mean, it's way less complicated than my pal's Champ 600, Champ 800, a wee Fender tweed thing. And he wanted me to add a master volume or something like that, and it kind of looked easy in the instructions, and it was just massive spaghetti. And I was poking about with a cocktail stick and a kebab skewer, having a look, moving the wires out of the way to see the bit that I was going to attach this master volume to, and this bit of my arm touched something and nearly flung me out that window. And then I got the fear. That was way less than that. There weren't any bits of spaghetti. It was like a board this size, and it was like you could see the bottom of this valve, the bottom of this valve. There's a transformer here, and then like the capacitors, the kind of cylindrical things, like one there, couple of wee resistors, couple of other things, and then that was it. There's nothing in it, so I wasn't that bothered about that when I added in the extra wire. But I should find out about valves. Maybe just look up on it. I'm sure there's. Don't know if I ever fancied modding it. That is the one I would mod. But the thing is, it kind of does everything I want. I don't really know what else I would do to it. I suppose. I don't know. As I said, maybe I could make a switch that switched between the two inputs, but I could just do that using an AB pedal. You know what I mean? So just get like one's a high gain, one of them's a low gain. I could just have like an AB pedal, like one in and two outs, and then just switch between the two physically. I really wanted to. Victor Morris, Muso stuff, right window, Nutter stuff, left window. Yeah. I always remember the thing I always wished I'd bought. It was really expensive though. It was like a tape deck for like a hi-fi stereo system. It just looked like you can't see it. Like it's a hi-fi size, standard size. I can't remember what you call normal width. not MIDI, full size separates bit, and it was just a tape deck, but it was a 4-track in like a tape deck. I always thought that was really cool. I didn't really know what it was at the time. I just thought that's a really cool looking tape deck, and then a couple of years later, my pal bought like a wee 4-track. I understood what a 4-track was because I thought, I've heard of an 8-track. It's those cartridge things. So this was a 4-track going. Not the same thing. This was actually a 4-track recorder, and I've never actually. I'd love to have one of them. So I think it was just like like 4 inputs on it and a cassette, front-loaded cassette, and a couple of faders sort of thing. I always quite fancied that. For the stereo stuff. The problem with Victor Morris was you'd see things. Some things would be really, really expensive for what they were, and some things would be in the shop for an afternoon. Maybe they were just stolen and they wanted rid of them. You could occasionally find things that were pure stupid cheap. I used to do an amazing bargain bin at around about Christmas when they would just have like a box with guitars in it, and it was like, these are obviously ones that people had traded in or something like that and been given a tenner for. So you get ones that it's like a Strat's missing a bridge or no pickups or just dirty or whatever, and they were like 10, 15, 20 quid, and they'd just be boxes of these guitars. It's like pure. Nowadays I'd be in and just buy the whole box and I won her. Some of them were really good. The thing you'd see some of them would be terrible, and it would be 10, 20 quid and then one next to it, and that's where I got my Kramer Focus. Actually, the guy who I fell out with for painting this guitar got me the Kramer Focus because I went in. This is when it was called the Guitar Store, and it was in a box at the door for 20 quid. Kramer Focus, it had no bridge and no scratch plate or pickups. I was like, Kramer. Pretty sure they're good. And I can't remember, there was a wee specky guy who used to work behind the counter, wore a Babylon 5 t-shirt, and he was such an utter bastard. I just couldn't stand him, and I was like, you're right, I'll buy this. And I just see his attitude. I literally was sitting there, and I had the thing on the counter, and I was trying to pay for it, and I just went, I just stormed out the place. And then on my way home, I went to see my pal Jim, and I was happier. Yeah, nearly bought this pure amazing Kramer, but I just couldn't stand giving that wee dick money. So I just walked out the place. Victor Morris didn't sell me about 10 guitars because I just didn't want to give him money. And then the next time I went round to Jim's house, was like, I got you a present, there you go. He just went in and bought it because it was only, I think it was 15 quid actually. So that's my Kramer Focus, which is actually Japanese, made by ESP. I've now got replaced the bridge. It's got like a piezo in it, and it's got 2 humbuckers. It's a fantastic guitar, which I should use, but I don't use. Laney is my favourite British amp. One of my first amps was a Laney. My first real amp, bought brand new. It was a 30 watt. It was really big for a 30 watt, but I mean, I think they're just a tube amp and just a tranny amp. I think that's kind of one of those things that, because obviously at the time you can get like a 30 watt amp that was only this size, but you do need size, and the cabinet does make a difference. I mean, that's why this sounds like it does. It's like that is a massive, massive cabinet, but it's pure thick, and I'm sure there's a technology I don't understand about how much space there is in it and how it's constructed does make a difference. It's not just the fact it's got those speakers in it. There is something to do with size and depth and angles and stuff that's been worked out, I'm sure. Imagine saying that I made a 2x12 cabinet, and it seemed to be all right. I like Laney because it's Tony Iommi was Laney, and the Sovtek was my favourite amp ever. Not for the first few years because I didn't realise what it was I had. I couldn't be bothered turning it on and waiting for the other light bulb to come on so I could play it. So I just had that sitting in my room with like a plant pot on it or something like that as decoration, and I would maybe use it when I had my pals round having a jam, and I would play through one of these wee 10 watt BB Blaster things. It wasn't until much later I suddenly realised Valve amp. I've got one of those Valve amps, and I took it into the studio, and it was just amazing. It's like it sounded much better than the Marshalls they had. And then the only amp that ever impressed me after that was again the guy who painted this. I shouldn't be talking about him an awful lot, Jim. Hello, Jim, if you're still watching. Still kind of not forgiving you, but if we just agree never to talk about the fact you painted my guitar without, even though you knew I didn't want it painted. So he had a Laney. That's a VC, an LC15 all tube thing, which basically is kind of the same as that, apart from that's a bit fancier. That one's made in Milton Keynes, and it's 2 channels, reverb. It's got an effects loop. Does something else. There's a couple other things. It's got a Jensen speaker, and it's a bit fancier. It's got like chrome on it, whereas the other ones, it looks a bit more like that. you know, you've got it's a bit more basic. You've got like gain, 3-band EQ, master volume, and there's a reverb one as well, and it's like half the price. And I just thought it sounded amazing. It sounded like my Sovtek sort of thing, which is the one that I thought I was buying when I bought that one. But it turned out to be a better one, so that was fine. 4-track cassette, very lo-fi. See how expensive those things are. Actually, I got one not that long ago, a few years ago, maybe 5 years ago, and I for a joke, I just like I got it, I got given it free. But this was quite an advanced one. This had like a Logic tape deck, you know, where you could set the timer on like a digital tape deck with digital buttons, so you could kind of set it back and then just hit rewind and it would go back to the 0, even if the 0 was halfway through the tape. This thing was amazing, and I did a 4-track challenge. I gave it to all my pals and we did a song each sort of thing, and then I took it to a party in Newcastle and just left it for images. I just assumed it was worth 20 or 30 quid, and it's like, now I bet it's worth 300 quid. And even the wee stupid ones you get, the ones that used to be £100 are now 200 quid second hand. Very lo-fi, but in some ways real, isn't it? Because it's analog. It's like, the analog and the warmth and all that. It's like, yeah, but yeah, it's like really having a wee digital one. But I do like the simplicity of it. You know, when you just had like maybe one input. I always wanted one with more. If you had one with 4 inputs on it, that'd be great. Then you could start to record something live. But I mean, I need to get one of those wee BR things. It's like, I just kind of wish you didn't have all the menus. I don't want effects and stuff in menus. I just want to have 4 ins and outs with a volume and a pan, maybe a wee EQ for each one. Laughing. Great fun. But I mean, so much stuff was done on them, and it's amazing what you could do. I mean, I remember people having the most elaborate demos done like on a 4-track just with bouncing, and then the amount of thinking that has to be done. You know, you sit there going, up here, yeah, you did that in a 4-track, and it's like, yeah, and it's, you know, it's like it's got drums, keyboards, you know, 2 guitar tracks, backing vocals, guitar, lead, bass. You know, that obviously they just, you know, recorded. I suppose you've got to record 3 tracks, bounce them onto one, record 2 tracks, bounce them onto the third one, and record. It's like the way of doing it. Amazing. You got it, Colin. I don't know. You said hello. Hello, Colin. A BR80. I can't remember which one it is. My pal Ivor actually had one. He was selling it. It didn't seem that expensive. It was like I think it was a Tascam, but it looked relatively simple on the front. I think it did have menus and stuff, but it had like 8 tracks or 8 volume controls, 8 pan controls, 8 tone controls in a row, so you could sort of mix live in it. And I quite like that. And he was selling it for like 120 quid or something like that. And I think I eventually decided, you know what, I'm gonna do a deal with him. I'll give him a bass or something like that. And I was like, and then I sort of forgot about it the following days. Like, oh, someone bought it. It's like, damn it. So I need to get one. Hey, Buster, how's it going? I don't. There's any new bassy things. Someone was looking for a bass. No, they weren't. Sorry. Sorry, yeah, you can tell I'm drunk already. I was drinking last night. I'm enjoying this too much. It's kind of going down easily, the old hair of the dog thing. Guided by Voices. I saw somebody mention Guided by Voices today. I was reading in Kerrang, Metal Hammer had Baby Metal on the cover. And I was reading about it, and it mentioned Guided by Voices. I don't know. I have no idea who they are. Size of a Walkman, has 24 tracks. Walkman, you've just dated yourself. 24 tracks. Wow. I mean, the thing is, I've got a couple of ADATs, and we're going back a little bit now. It's like an ADAT's basically an 8-track digital recorder that records onto super VHS tapes. It's just a standalone unit. You can link them together to get, you know, 2 of them, 16 track. I do have 2 of them, and it's just 8 ins and 8 outs with a record button. That's kind of it. I should have one set up there and just record on it. You don't need very much. You just need a desk, put it in, and the desk for coming out. Hey, Buster's bass guitars. What kind of bass do you play? I'll go for P bass. He's a bit of a P bass fan. Check out his channel. You could probably link it in there. I keep meaning to link it, and it's like on live streams, I totally don't do anything afterwards because I'm too drunk and have to go to bed. So it's like maybe I'll look at it tomorrow. I remember years ago seeing a guitar shaped like a caravan. Don't know who made it. So stupid. I can go one further. It was in Guitar, and it was made by Epiphone, because at the time I was in a Caravan tribute band and I actually knew the band Caravan, and it was 350 quid or something. I think, if I remember correctly, it was like one of the wee tiny Caravans, the ones that's like it's probably only about 8 feet long, a tiny wee Caravan, and I think the wheel had the volume control in it, if I remember correctly. I remember just thinking, why? And also, why don't Caravan buy one of them? Maybe a bit silly. Didn't Laney have some connection with the old HH brand? I do remember the first Laney I bought had an H&H badge in the front because it had H&H speakers in it. Like the way Peavey used to have Black Widow speakers on it. It had a wee badge on the front, but definitely Laney definitely did have. I don't know whether did they maybe buy the H&H speaker factory or something, or they just, because they were next door or something, because Laney were originally from Birmingham. I don't think my wee amp, it doesn't actually say, I think it just says made in England on the back of it. I don't think it actually says made in Birmingham. Be nice if it was, for the Black Sabbath reasons. Hey, Rocket Ronnie. Are you Ronnie? I don't know. Are you Ronnie? I made bits for your motorbike, Ronnie. People with their thing. It's like Rob the drummer. Okay, he's put it Bobby the drummer. I know who he is. He's the drummer. Bobby. Yes. Well done. How's it going? Cameron's looking for a bass. So Buster's selling a few. I'm trying to think if I've got any. I've got one bass that I've had for years, and it's a really good one. It's a Yamaha RBX, and it's like a 400 series, something like that. So it's like a 400 series Yamaha has a £400 bass, and I got it free with my Aria ZZB, the one that I always talk about that I sold 20 years ago. I always regretted, got it back, and I was in tears when I bought it. The guy was also selling a smashed up Yamaha. And I was like, what's your offer on the guitar, on the bass? And I'm crying, like, money, take it. He's like, just pissing himself laughing. He's like, take that one as well. No one else seems to bid on it. And I've still got it sitting in the garage. Actually, when I did the dip paint, I didn't actually put up the second half of that. I did 2 guitars at the same time. I did the Yamaha, which I sold, which my Hermes have lost apparently. The guy was meant to get it yesterday. And if you look up the My Hermes tracker, it just says in transit. So nightmare, but I also tried to do that Yamaha bass body and it just totally didn't work. All the paint just stuck to one corner. It was a complete waste of time. So eventually I'll get through that. H&H brand. No. Have a Go Plus? Never heard of them. P basses are funny. It's like a little bit like a Telecaster. I've not ever really had a P bass or a Telecaster that was absolutely rubbish. I think there's an element of something like a P bass. There's so little to it. There's not really anything you can get wrong. It's like, as long as the neck is all right and they put the frets in the right. Even on a bass, if it's got slightly uneven frets, if you've got the action up a little bit, which you kind of want to have on a bass anyway, you can kind of get away with frets that are a bit off. And they just always seem good. But I mean, $70 on Amazon, how can, and you're getting something that looks like a P bass? Why doesn't everybody have a bass? All the people who don't have a bass are just, I don't understand. It's like, because I could have plenty of fun, especially P bass is just right. It's only when they start making it a little bit more fancy, when they start trying to put more pickups in and all this fancy stuff, there's maybe something to go wrong. But P bass, laughing. My Buster's got quite a few bass guitars. I want to take some of the blame for that. I think it was like I'm kind of an enabler, we call it, where people are like, up here. I feel guilty. It's like, I've got like 5 guitars, so I really shouldn't be buying anymore. Having 5 guitars, and then they see someone like me and go, like, up here, 5 guitars? That's nothing. I can buy another one. So, no problem. You don't need to thank me. That's all right. And the fact is, like, Buster knows very much the same. It's a similar attitude to me. It's like, you can get a pure amazing guitar or a pure amazing bass, and it doesn't have to be £1,000 to get one that's thoroughly acceptable, still amazing to play. Not saying it's as good as the one at £1,000, but it still is a bass and does everything that a big bass should do. If you're recording an album, maybe you don't want to be doing it on a £69 bass, or if you're playing a gig, or if you're doing lots of gigs, maybe you want to have something a bit better than a £69 bass. But if you're talking about sitting having a jam with your pals, or going in rehearsing, or just playing the bass for fun in the house, you can get something that's great fun, and it makes such a difference. Just fidgeting with it and getting it set up, adjusting the truss rod on your 69 one. You're not going to be scared of adjusting the truss rod on a £69 bass, or adjusting it. Whereas if it's £1,000 one, it's like, it's like, oh, it's kind of buzzing a little bit. You don't want to break it by adjusting the truss rods. It's $70. You get a bit more chance of looking at it. Birmingham, yeah. Laney are from Birmingham, hence why Tony Iommi uses them. Originally, I don't know much. I actually think maybe about 10 years ago, I should have bought them. I didn't buy them. I saw bass cabinets, and it was a 2x15 bass cabinet. The thing was horrible, absolutely bashed to bits, right? It was £100, right? And it had Black Sabbath stenciled on the back of it because it was the one that Geezer Butler used on the Heaven and Hell tour. And it was £100. And I didn't buy it because, well, basically it was the same size as that whole amp, so it's completely useless. But to have that, I don't care what it sounded like. I wish I'd bought it. Yeah, Birmingham. Whether they're Birmingham now, I don't know. Actually, and so are John Birch Guitars, who made Tony Iommi's guitar, and these pickup rings that I can't use on my Tony Iommi guitar because it's not the same as a Gibson. So when you put the pickup ring on, it interferes with the bridge because the pickup's not quite in the same place. So I've still got genuine John Birch, and John Birch has just closed about 3 weeks ago. They're now no longer, they've sold the company to somebody else, so they've gone. I just happened to have genuine, so they're worth much more than what I paid for them already. I don't know what I'm doing with them. Buckfast, Ronnie. I drink Buckfast, I don't remember anything. Buckfast, Ronnie. Oh man, sorry. I'm sorry. See if I don't remember anyone. I'm really sorry. It's like it's hard to. I can see if you've met me or you bought a guitar off me before. I will probably recognise you when I see you, but I can't remember who you are from. I don't remember I was around and I bought a guitar off you a year ago. Like I totally sell a guitar a week or something like that, so I can't remember. Whereas if you say, how's it going? The guy actually heard relatively recently, I've forgotten his name already, the guy from Waterside. I remember meeting him, the guy with who I got the headless bass off. And I met him in Lidl because he only lives 10 minutes away. And I met him in Lidl a couple of weeks later. He's like, hi Malcolm, how's it going? Lapierre, all right, that's great, mate. That's fantastic. And then he was like, how are you getting on with the headless bass? And he was Lapierre, all right, now I know who you are. He's like, because obviously you could see my face. I'm like, Lapierre, yeah, hi. You can still handshake then. It's before pre-coronavirus. So if you do make me go up here, hey Malcolm, how's it going? I'll go, yeah. And then say, yeah, I'm really enjoying the Flying V bass. Right, I remember you now. I've got you now. A Kirk Hammett ESP. It can't be an ESP if it's £200. I don't think, can it? You mean an LTD? I really don't know much about. Oh dear. ESP. I haven't seen a Kirk Hammett being the. I don't even know what that would look like. Is that kind of like a sort of Jackson-y looking affair, maybe? It can't be an ESP. It must be an LTD. My LTD's actually. I was because this was on the wall. I thought I'd put another pointy one up to trying to rearrange these guitars a little bit so there's something different. But I mean, their LTD guitars are fantastic. Everyone I've come across has had the best frets ever. I'm not really that keen on the way they look. A lot of them. That one's purely the Baby Metal reference, and as Rob said earlier, the Baby Metal guitars are so expensive, it's stupid, especially the one that I wanted, that I knew was coming out about 2 months in advance, and I sat and watched the official site to try and buy them. They were $129, and I was happy, right, $129 from Japan, that's fine. Even with tax and shipping, it's still going to be 200 quid, and I'll get it. And they were sold out like that. And then they were immediately on eBay, 30 seconds later for $1,000 for a wee stupid thing that should only be $129. That was for like a mini one, which kind of looks like that. Single pickup, hardtail. And there was the official, the one that the guitarists actually played, not the one that the wee girls came out and posed with. They weren't plugged in or anything like that. And it was like $3,000 because it was an ESP. So I kind of made a full size, the one that I wish they had done, an LTD version at a few hundred quid. They would have sold thousands of them if they'd made them, but they didn't. I had to make it myself. Tennent's, Ronnie, Today in the Sun. Classy Tennent's, metal flavoured lager. I've not had a can of Tennent's in years. Because I had to put up an extra three guitar hangers in the hall, 8 in the hall now, and one that I'm allowed on a wee stand. Need to thin the herd. Do you? Can you not just work out some more clever way of stacking more in the hall somehow? Or like, I don't know, converting the loft or something, or get one of those racks. I don't know. I mean, I had a great idea when I was in my last house. I think there might actually be a video of it. I had like I was in a loft conversion, but there was a staircase going up to it that was behind a door. So, and I remember, which I should have done years ago, I did it and I put up bits of CLS and things on it. So when you went up my staircase, it was literally 2 rows of guitars. I think it was 32 I could get going up. And it was just amazing. Every time I went downstairs to go to the toilet or go to the kitchen or something, I could just kind of enjoy walking past 32 guitars or however many it was. Something like that. Because I remember at the time I had enough guitars to fill it up twice. And that was going down to ones that have never worked. You know what I mean? Ones that have never had strings and, bent necks and stuff. It was like you're totally scraping the barrel. But when I was in my last house, I had 64 guitars, all in. More than that. Yeah, I don't tell people. It's disgusting. Those H&H amps with the fluorescent dials. I used to play through, in my first band playing bass, I played through 2 of them. I had a 2x12 combo, I had a 2x12 cabinet, and I had what should have probably been the head from a combo, but I never had the actual case for it. So it basically was like a metal box that, see, if you held it up, you could see all the way through it. Like pure super mega dangerous. So I had like the 2x12 sitting on the floor, and then I had the 2x12 cabinet on top of it, and then I had the amp head, like just if you imagine sliding that out on top, and I had a piece of plywood that sat on top of that so that you couldn't get electrocuted. And I used to run through 2 of them with a splitter cable. It was great fun. They were really loud, and my pal Ivor collects them. They're really well regarded. It was a great amp. The 2x12 thing, I think the going rate seemed to be about 100 quid. I think I maybe paid 80 and sold it for 83 years later, sort of thing. But it was a decent amp. It was good, and it lit up green. So I was like, "Oh, is that a Trace Elliot?" It's like, no, H&H. It wasn't until after that I bought I don't think I still had it. No, I bought a Buzzcocks album because it had my amp on the cover, on the back cover, because they used to play through. I think Wilco Johnson used to play through one as well. The combos, back surgery. Mine had wheels. That was fine. So see, as long as you never actually had to lift it up any stairs, it was fine. But yeah, no, heavy. Cameron, sorry, I'm a wee bit behind. Sorry. Just looking to replace that PVS holder. I'm always looking as well. Need a bass. It's like Cameron wants. Anyone got a Warlock bass? Cameron's the guy who I was playing his Warlock guitar the other day. He's up here. Do you want a shot of my Warlock to do a video on? He's like, up here. Yeah, it's cool. So I've never played a Warlock bass. He's like, up here. Oh, it's not a bass. I used to have a bass. And I was like, here. All right, yeah, cool. Trying to hide by going, oh, it's not a Warlock bass. I really wanted a shot of a Warlock bass. I mean, I like the Warlock guitar's great as well, but I bet you it's absolutely massive, a Warlock bass, because I mean, I've got my ZZB Aria bass is like an Explorer, even though it's a 32 inch, so it's short, but it's still this size. And it's like, I can imagine a Warlock is just pure, absolutely huge. It's an international series. All right, aye, that bass. Yes, I remember that. It was ugly. I'm sorry. It wasn't my style. I don't like sort of normal looking basses. I like ones that basically if anyone's got this in a bass, I want a wave bass. I want a wave. I've even seen one. There was at one point. When was this? I didn't have any money. Maybe 3 years ago, and it was in London, and it was a bitch bass, an NJ bitch bass, and it was 200 quid on eBay, and nobody bought it for a Japanese one. It was black though, unfortunately, but I've never seen another one. That's really the only BC Rich bass I've really seen. I think I remember seeing a Mockingbird one once as well. They're just not very popular. I think they maybe made them. They were maybe BC Rich, I don't know, during the 2000s or whatever, maybe made a couple of basses for a couple of years. So they'd make a Warlock and a Mockingbird for a couple of years, and then it's like they would be out the catalogue and they'd maybe have like a bitch bass and something else for a couple of years, and it just kind of went in and out. I changed my bass tuners. This is the Vantage ones. Surprise me if it's talking about a Vantage bass having rubbish tuners, because the chances are it would be Goto, I would have thought, but it might not be. I've actually got two Yamaki built tuners, which, because when I bought my Scavenger bass, it had two tuners on it, and I couldn't afford to buy a set of Yamaki ones, so I've got two. And it's the sort of thing, if somebody really, really wants one, because the thing about that is, though, even though the Scavenger was quite a cheap bass, the most expensive basses they did had the same tuners on them. The same with like your Westtones as well. They've got like these tuners will be the same. These will be Gotos as well. It's like once you get to a certain level, you just get a Goto tuner. That's just, how can a tuner be any better? And it's like, well, it could be locking. Well, you didn't really get locking ones in the 80s, so it's like it is just a pro level tuner. So that's just what it is. All right, you bought the Buckfast guitar that failed. I've repainted it and it looks okay. I remember you now. Sorry. So I haven't actually physically met you, so that I don't feel quite as bad. Have I sold any guitar yet? Yeah. I've sold quite a few guitars in the last couple of weeks. The Gretsch is away. I sold the Showmaster to my pal Andy's brother. I sold the wee mini, the Echo guitar. That's away. What else have I sold recently? I sold the Yamaha with the paint job on it, which I hope, fingers crossed, I really hope that my Hermes haven't made a mess of this, because you always hear horror stories about my Hermes. I've always defended them because I've never had any problems and they've always been really good. And then this time, suddenly it's like the tracking thing, the tracking used to say it's like pure, yes, it would be the first thing would be like pure, your order received, your guitar's received at the shop because I've dropped it off, picked up at the shop, at your local hub, sorted at the local hub, in transit to the buyer's the recipient's local hub, at the recipient's local hub, out for delivery in that order. So it was great. Sometimes it'd be a wee bit of a delay of a day between one of these things, but it was like pure great. And this one, it just says, and it's processing. It's like, where's all the individual things so I know exactly where it is? I don't know. Yeah. So I mean, I've put up a few guitars for sale, and they've kind of sold. I sold the Satellite Les Paul. Basically, I've sold everything I put up. I put up the Iron Brew Van Halen, because I'm never going to play it. The thing, I wanted to keep it because it's a really, really good guitar, and I'm not going to get what it's worth. It's going to be cheaper than what it's actually worth as a guitar, because it's an amazing guitar. It's like an old Sun Mustang from India. Fantastic quality, like classic vibe. Better than that, but it's iron brew on it, and it's not. I'm not going to get what it's worth. I was going to use it live, and I just don't want to use it live because I turn up like an idiot on stage like that. Pure what Van Halen guitar, and it's going to be like play Eruption. So, I can't do that, and I'm just playing chords and stuff. They're going to go that fraud, not worthy of playing an Iron Maiden guitar, Van Halen guitar. Says it's an ESP LTD, yeah. LTDs they can be expensive. I mean, I bought the Baby Metal one. I bought that for £100. With it was white. It's an Alexei Leho one. It was white, and I think the bridge and the pickups had been replaced. So I was like, I thought £100. So I was like, yeah, that's brilliant. I was going to make a Baby Metal guitar, but if I can get one that's sort of the same, and all I have to do is what I did was I belt sanded the sides to give them a concave, and then I cut out this bit. And then painted it black and red. And then it wasn't until after I did that I looked it up and they're £700 new. So I just basically chopped up a £700 guitar to make one that's now worth about 150, 200 quid. Yay! But the fact it says China in the back, I was like, oh, China, cheap. No. But it doesn't matter. Because I mean, the thing is, if you give China enough money to make a guitar, they'll make one better. You know, if you tell China to make you a guitar for 400 quid, it'll be better than if you ask Korea to build you a guitar for 400 quid. But what's it worth? The fact it says China on the back, you get folk like me go like, China. It must be a cheap one. I remember I was in China buying Telecasters for 60 quid. But I think 64 is impressive. People say I've got 10 and overdoing it. I don't know. Are you still at the stage? I was talking to someone about the stage. Blacktooth Fox. I hope he's all right. I've not actually seen him on tonight. He was talking about, I need a guitar with a Floyd Rose, and then I need a semi-hollow, and then I need. So I don't know why I'm pretending he's like a bit camp, but it's like I remember thinking that way. I was like, right, I've got originally I had my Gibson SG as an electric guitar, and I kept my Epiphone SG as a backup. Justifiably having a guitar, having a spare one in case I join a band and I need a spare one. And I had my Schecter P-Bass, and I had an acoustic guitar. Right. I had a 12-string guitar. So then I had a 12-string guitar. And then I thought, an electric guitar. It'd be nice to have one with a whammy bar on it in case I need one with a whammy bar on it. So then I had one with a whammy bar on it. And then eventually now I'm just sitting there. And it's like, the problem I've got is like to try and sell one and go like, well, is it 80s and from Japan? And that's really all I need as an excuse to keep something. I mean, the ones that I shouldn't be keeping are just like, I've got that Yamaha SG, which I should totally sell. It's 80s and it's Japanese, and it's like, it kind of fits into the category that I've decided to put myself in, which is quite good because it's quite a wide ranging category because it covers BC Riches and Westtones and Arias and Ibanez and all these things. But it means that I'm using it as an excuse to justify buying another one. It's like, I don't really need that. So I mean, when you see me selling guitars, unless it's something very, very special, I'll not keep it unless it's 80s in Japan, like between 1979 and 1985, made in Japan. So somehow, I don't know why, I've decided that's what I collect. I think maybe out of all the guitars I've got, I've maybe got 10 that aren't. Yeah. There we go. Vantage bass are two different types of tuners. Yeah, let's go to good. I think back in, you're talking about Vantage in the early 80s, you didn't have what you've got now where you could just go on eBay and buy tuners. It's like you didn't really have that choice. You either got crap ones or you got Gotos or Grovers or Schollers, which were more expensive. So Goto were kind of like your standard one, but it wasn't really that much of a range. So if you're talking about what at the time would be £150 bass, you couldn't really put the Gotos on it, so they would just put tuners that worked. That was where Westtone really came in, because I think every Westtone had, I'm not sure actually, I think the cheapest one maybe didn't, but they had they'd go to hardware, so you didn't need to replace any of the parts if you wanted to gig with a guitar, whereas any other guitars that were kicking about at that price, like your Satellites and stuff, you can tune it and play it in the house, but they're really not going to stand up to any bad quality. It wasn't the best. Hey, Billy, Missed much, fell asleep. I was pretty steaming last night. Ended up walking for 2 miles to get home, which I think is the only reason I haven't puked yet. A really long, a really long walk. I was actually going to film myself. I had my GoPro with me. I was up playing poker with my pals. Had an absolute ball, amazing fun. And I was walking home. There's a bit. You might have seen in one of my videos. Like I'm in Milton Campsie. To get between here and the slightly bigger village, which is just over there, is like about a mile going across through fields. And I was walking along that in absolute pitch darkness. Like that. This is at 2 o'clock in the morning. That is great. And I was up here on. So I went to my phone. I was talking to Civic. All right, okay, catch you later. And I put the phone in my pocket and I couldn't see anything because it was pitch dark and I'd been looking at like a white phone screen. Terrifying, but great fun. Yeah. Well, Cameron, Hermes don't operate on a Sunday. I don't think they do, no, but I just feel that they should. That was, I mean, I must have dropped. I dropped the guitar off on Tuesday morning, and there's no updates. I would have thought a Tuesday should have been. I think Hermes do operate on a Sunday. They deliver, but they don't deliver. They deliver between like the Glasgow office and the Canterbury or whatever it is, at Kent somewhere office. They would do that run on a Sunday, but they can't. They've got no people who actually deliver it to your door or pick it up from your door. They're not working, but I think the actual logistics part are. I don't know what's happened. I think a lot of my Hermes, the problem is it kind of depends on who your driver is, because one of the reasons I do like it as opposed to Royal Mail, because Royal Mail, they make a mess of something and it's like, all right, I've not got my parcel, and they immediately go, all right, what day was that? Wednesday? I wasn't working that day. Jim was working that day. Where's Jimmy's on holiday for 2 weeks? Every single time there's a problem at Royal Mail, that's what happens, and everyone just denies it. Whereas in my Hermes, but the same guy, whether I get it picked up from here or whether I drop it off at my local shop, one guy does that run, takes it to the depot, right? And then it's internal depot to depot. And then one guy or woman does the other run. So there's one guy for your area. So it's totally traceable who's got it. So one of the guys, and it's not the guy at my end because he's brand new, it's the guy in Canterbury, or the office has made a mistake. You just don't have the... Yes, they just run with the trucks. Running with the trucks. Oh, yeah. They do that. So you can... My thinking was if I were ever delivering a guitar, or I would always much rather somebody posted it or I posted it on a Monday. I never really liked the idea of the guitar sitting for an extra day in a warehouse somewhere if it didn't have to be. I would refuse to let the sale go through if I use Hermes. Yeah, my pal actually, John Carter, whose name I don't know. He must get it all the time, but there's a Disney film, a not very good Disney film, where John Carter goes to Mars. And as every time I see it, I think, it's like that guy, that poor guy is Dave Murray, who's sometimes on these. Every time I see Dave Murray, no, you play guitar for Iron Maiden. Yes. And he was like, he just has, I can't remember, it was just sending him a couple of pickups or something silly. Is that pure? Oh no, the guy, my Hermes guy's a right knob. Don't use that. I'll give you extra money to use Royal Mail. And I think it really just depends on who it is as your local guy, and it really counts on two people. One person at my end, and then one person at the other end, and then the internal bit's kind of all right. But the woman I used to have was hilarious. She was so grumpy. She reminded me so much of Sandy Toksvik. She was like short and blonde. And I remember getting a set of speakers. I used to live at the end of a big drive. And it was like, I get my surround sound speakers, and it was 2 boxes. She came down. I went to the door. I think it was maybe the first time I'd met her. You're all right. From Kyle. You're all right. Sign. You're okay. Sign. Another box in the van. I was like, I'll come up and get it. Damn right you will. It was like, whoa. Pure grumpy. I mean, her name was Barbara. Lovely, but pure horrible. I got on really well with her. I liked her because she was just telling it like it was. And she just carried a big box of 4 mini monitors in it, and pure sweating and just like that. And I was like, oh, there's another box. Okay, I'll come and get it. I'll walk up the drive. It's like, yes, you will. Or it's getting dumped in the street. I don't care. You've signed. Hilarious. Yeah, lockdown, it could be. But it's Freedom Day tomorrow. What are you doing? My God, that just... so stupid. I want to mention the fact the football was on last week when England unfortunately didn't win the Euro Cup. I know it's not called that. It's called something like that. And it's like, see, when I was growing up, it was always like I just wanted England to lose because I'm Scottish. And to be totally honest, I felt guilty about having felt that because I didn't really want England to lose because when we're getting a wee bit political again, watching it, and they seem quite nice and quite sort of not really the hooligans that were kind of that give a bad name. And now I don't hate English people. Just I know more about it. I just hate who they vote for. So I mean, basically, I'd say 99% of us Scottish people, even the independent supporters, don't hate English people. We just hate Boris and that ilk. And I'm sorry you didn't do better in the cup thing, especially when you'd like the taking the knee and being nice and courteous and stuff like that. It's like, yeah. Even though Boris was like against it because he's an absolute bastard. Right, not do that anymore. I waited 6 months for a package from the UK. Who knows? The Brexit thing's probably something to do with it, which England voted for. It's like maybe hate what the English vote for. If they maybe been a bit less, they thought about it a bit more, maybe that wouldn't have happened. I don't know how it happens. But I'm not talking about going for miles. I'm talking about going to technically in the same country from Glasgow to Kent. We're both in Britain, United Kingdom. It should have got there in 2 days or 3 days because I mean it's like you can do the run to get from Glasgow to Kent, whatever their sorting office is, a day. It's like it could definitely be done in one shot. So basically, just to take a day to get from me to the Glasgow office, a day to get from the Glasgow office to the Kent office, and then a day to get from the Kent office to whatever it was it was getting delivered to. So it should have been delivered on Tuesday. It should have been on Friday. Hopefully it'll come on Monday. Otherwise, I'll refund. I don't think he's watching tonight. He's not mentioned it. I'll refund him anyway, and then I'll take the blame. I'll get my money back. I had it insured. I will get the money back. It's annoying that it disappeared. I have a house room with my collection. Unless it's about anymore, something has to make her room. At least it's her coat and not your wife. Yeah. I don't know. Do you start buying double neck guitars? And does that count as two? And do you have any acoustics? Because are you aware that, see if you've got one of those rack things, see instead of having one acoustic in it, you can put two electrics in. Yeah. Or maybe have you thought about a Steinberger? It's like the bodiless, headless sort of cricket batty looking things. They don't take up very much room. You can probably get one of them. You handled the Buckfast, Billy. You handled the Buckfast well last week. A lot of people would have had the cops called on them with that much, mate. Like I say, I'm just patank. I have to say that it's going down very well. Actually, what did I drink last night? I had a bottle of Bucky, obviously, but also a wee local shop started selling Magnum. So I bought one of them, and I had one. This one actually sitting on top of the amp, and my pal Rab bought one, took one sip of it, and went, "Oh, never do you want that?" So I had two of them, a bottle of Bucky, and when I was walking the 2 mile journey up the road, I had this one in my back pocket, and I drank that much of it while I was walking down the middle of the road with a strap in my back. I have to comment on actually the Black Star Fly amp that I took. I took a guitar I was first out, but so I had to take a guitar. See how amazing my Fender Strat sounded through the wee Black Star Fly. It totally sounded like a Strat, and it was really quite disconcerting because it was quite steaming, and I kind of wanted it to sound like, see, when you get like a wee crappy amp and it sort of distorts, you go, oh, it's a crappy sound. I'll just do whatever and I'll try and get the best out of it. This just sounded really good, and it was quite difficult. Yeah, I like that movie. Oh, I don't know which movie it was. No, you need to remind me which movie it is. I'm Quite Stephen, get rid of the. Oh, here we go. It's not the England team we hate, it's the media circus and the whole thing, like they deserve to win it. Well, they think the trick is they're the media. And it's like, why Brexit media? Why, it's like, because I don't know if anyone knows, all the media in the UK is all owned by the same 3 people. Was it 4 people, different groups? And they're all mega billionaires who donate heavily to the Conservative. Boris Johnson gets, brown envelopes full of millions of pounds all the time. It's like, oh, that's nice. I'll just have a wee couple of £1 million in my pocket. That's fine. There's a tax revision coming up. We've decided that any company that has a J in the name doesn't have to pay any tax at all. And then you see the person who made the £1 million go up, yeah. Cheers, Boris. That's just saved me £50 million that I'm no longer having to pay tax. I only had to give you 5 to get that done. That's how it works. And they run the media. Bastards. Sorry. And we'll get off politics again. It's like Bucky and politics do not mix. Although they would properly mix. See if the SNP were actually allowed to drink Bucky in the Houses of Parliament, Boris would have had some smashed off his face several times. It's not even English people I hate. Most English people are all right. It's the people who they vote for, and it's the government. But obviously any media doesn't spin it that way because they're all owned by X amount. So it's just all Scottish people hate all English people. We hate the English people. They'll hate the people you vote for. The hooligans, I know. I think it is. I think it is a minority. It's just unfortunate that when you get your Borises, they make them fine, and it's like suddenly it's like pure. I've been racist for my whole life, and but I've always kept it down because I think it's wrong. And then you get Boris, and you go, "It's all right to be racist." In fact, he's actually saying, "You're great being racist. So I can go out and be racist. Woohoo!" And then, yeah. I'm not getting political. Stop getting political. I think Trump did the same thing. Guitar myth number 1: chicks dig guitars. I don't think Civic's still on. See, that would be guitar myth number 1: chicks dig guitars. Because they kind of do. They don't dig basses. I remember selling this a couple of years ago. I was up here, yeah. It's like the it was like I think I put the joke up, and it's like it's like the pair how many singer what you expect, like the singer and the guitarist pure getting hundreds of chicks, then the bass player like just attracts other bass players to talk about prog rock. And it's just like, but I'm a bass player. It's like, how come you're going out with me? And she's like, you play guitar more often. It's like that. So it's like basically being a bass player is a bad thing. A lot of places want to escape Scottish money in England. Yeah, that's true. To be fair, some of that's just I had problems when I was in the Chippy. I think it was amazing. I remember seeing a comedy sketch in this, and it was getting like a Northern Ireland £20 note because it's a bit funny looking. It's got like different pictures on it, and it's like whenever you're in a shop and it's like you're not sure, you just kind of go, "Does anyone know, is this a genuine?" There's always an Irish person in the line up here. That's legal tender, or it's the same with the Scottish person, so you just accept it. But yeah. But I think there's a fair element of just not wanting to get ripped off because you're buying a funny looking note. But yes, it is pretty shocking. I do remember actually before, this is going back a wee while, and we still had pound notes, but England didn't have them anymore. And I bought a Burger King on one of the motorway service stations, and it was like, I don't know, £4 for lunch or whatever it was. That's how long ago I managed to get a burger for £4 at a motorway service station. It would now be a tenner. And I was like, pure getting money. I was like, pure, so I put the £1 out. There you go. And then the guy behind the counter was like, I put it in the till and gave me like £1 back. Like, okay. That's great. Cheers. Pure. Legging it out the place because obviously he thought it was a £5, and it wasn't. It was a £1 note. So win for me. That doesn't happen anymore. Hooligans are we're getting political again. I'm sorry about it. But yeah, they make them believe they're better than every other country. That's because it's some Scottish money. If the Queen is it Scottish? Is on it? Is it Scottish? Australia and Canada also have the Queen on. Yeah, but the thing is, it's pound sterling. So it's just that's it. Used to drink it years ago. Regrets I had a few. I take it we're talking about Bucky. Media should not be for profit. Compromised. Wow. It's like socialist, commie, Marxist, get out. They'll hate you. You know, it's like pure. The thing is, I was like pure. It's like, see when you see like people. I've never seen someone talk about this before. It's like pure folk getting accused of being socialist and Marxist and all that, and then the kids are going, I don't really know what that is. I'll Google it, and it's like pure. Well, that seems like a really good idea. Why? What? Do you know what I mean? It's like, and suddenly it boils down to, yeah, because if you're super mega rich, you want to be more super mega rich. You don't want to pay any taxes or anything like that. So, what, 10,000 people will die as a direct result of me taking away all the food? Right, okay. How much money do I get, though? You get £1 million. All right, oh, cool, excellent. So, that's how it works. There we go, Daniel, bringing it back to normal. Favourite AC/DC album? I think I'm going to have to... it's Powerage. And it's got my favourite song, which I can't play. Yeah, it's Down Payment Blues, which is fantastic. No, Powerage is just absolutely amazing. But a little bit of a thing on that, the CD version or the American version of the album isn't as good as the UK original release of the album, because it's got a couple of... There's only 2 or 3 songs different on both the records, but the British one much better, because Britain's the greatest ever, and it's just random chance or whatever. I think the songs doesn't have Rock and Roll Damnation on it. It's a single here. It's on the CD/American album. It does have What's Next to the Moon on it, which is one of their best songs ever. Which, if you don't have that, I think it's an unreleased gem on CD and stuff like that. Amazing. Boris said he hates the Scots. He does, yes. All global media is owned by 2 companies. Rupert Murdoch owns one of them, yes. If Boris was a guitar, what would he be? Oh, it's good, isn't it? A Shitocaster, a Liocaster, a Corruptocaster. I don't know. I don't think I hate any guitars as much as as that little rat. What does Boris drink? Poor people's tears. Or when I say poor people, I mean anyone who didn't go to Eton College can he would, for £1, he will let you die. That's how it goes. Joe V, how's it going? I got drunk and it got political, and I'm trying to get away from it, but because I'm slightly behind in the chat, it still keeps going back up. Have you ever seen Queen live? No. Yes. So there you go. What about that for a turnaround? Have I seen Queen with Freddie Mercury? No, because I was in 1991. I was 10. I was 12. So no, I never saw. But I saw them with. I saw them with Adam Lambert, and it was fantastic at Glasgow, and we was right at the front in front of Brian May, but it was a massive stage, so it was still 20 yards away. I could probably have spat on him if I'd really tried, and they were brilliant. Muchos Muchacho, hi from Argentina. That's quite far away. We're in Scotland, which is a wee bit, and yeah, so political. Sorry, Civet. It's like, even when he said Argentina, it's like, if Scotland didn't want the Falklands, you can have them. It's England, sorry. Right. If Boris Johnson was a guitar, I reckon it would be a Music Ally children's acoustic guitar with nylon strings. Have I got a Stratocaster for sale? I've got a Iron Brew Stratocaster for sale just now. And the paint, it was painted 6 months ago easily because I was going to keep it for myself. So definitely, if it went in a box and got sent to the borders, the paint will definitely not come off it. It's like, I'm kind of worried about that. The one I just sent down to Kent, but I did leave it 2 weeks. The one I sent to you, it felt dry, and it was there. It was only like 48 hours, maybe 36 hours from the last coat of lacquer to going in the box. And as you said, well, you've seen it. It reacted somehow. It needs longer than that to go crunchy. But Argentina's pretty impressive. That's quite far away. I wonder if I've got looking at my subs earlier on, I'm at 1995. So if anyone here is not subbed, if you sub, you might be 2000. And if you're 2000, I'll go, yeah. And if you can spike the likes as well, 23 people on, only 7 likes. If you're still here, you must like it. And apparently it helps with algorithms and stuff if you hit like. It does get stuck into your liked videos, but I don't think it really makes any difference. How many guitars you own? I can't. It's embarrassing. I'll just put in a lot, and if I was going to say a lot, I use capital letters for the lot bit. LOT, yeah, a lot, more than 10. A lot in capital letters, more than 10. If you look through my videos, I don't know. The ones that are on the wall in general, let's see what we've got here. Everything on the wall is a keeper most of the time, unless it's one I'm actually selling that week. So I'm sure it can be worked out. Hi, Rocket, give me a text. It's on Facebook Marketplace as Iron Brew Van Halen. I actually did a picture which I forgot to put in the advert. It's the thumbnail for the video, and it's like an Iron Brew van, and I modified the number plate to say Halen, and not very many people got the joke because it's Iron Brew Van Halen. See, yeah. Do you think the Epiphone LP Express with some mods could be good for playing enough live? It's a small guitar, so you'd need to put if you put like higher gauge strings on it, like 12s or something like that. It's fine as it is, yeah. I don't think it doesn't really need mods, to be honest. The only one I had, it was my pal Dal had one, and I think did I not put neon green pickups in it that sounded amazing. I don't know if you can still get them from China. They look like Seymour Duncan Invaders, and obviously post-Brexit, everything's much more expensive, but I think he paid something like a tenner for the pair delivered for 2 Seymour Duncan Invaders in neon green for that guitar, and they sounded phenomenal. And because they had the extra wires, I put a coil split in, so I had like a single coily sound thing in it as well. If you can understand me, sorry Marcos, I should probably try and speak a bit slower and a bit clearer. So the Epiphone Les Paul Express, yes, with a setup, it should be good enough to play live. It's just a wee bit small. Maybe put slightly big, slightly thicker strings on, maybe 12s. 4,685 miles to New Mexico to Glasgow. That's a long walk. It's a difficult walk. I think you'll find it's more if you have to walk it. I would personally, obviously, ultimately get a plane or at least a boat. The walk things, it's a tall order. I think it's like, I don't. Is it the Bering Strait between Alaska and? Does it still freeze over? You could probably, if you could do that, you could probably walk. Oh no, then you would still have to walk across the English Channel. Yeah, don't walk it. I think you're actually closer than Shenzhen is. I'm pretty sure it was 5,000 miles to get to Shenzhen. Ever had any Oldfield guitars? Trying to think if I've heard of an Oldfield guitar. Because the thing is, I'm quite a Mike Oldfield fan. So I do have guitars that I bought because they look like Mike Oldfields. I don't recognise the name though. The two-bolt neck does sound funny, but I wonder if it's you might find it's glued or it's got bolts on the inside as well. Because some of the Aria PEs are what looks like a 2-bolt neck, but actually it's got 4 bolts that go in below the neck pickup. So actually it's a much better neck than you would normally expect. So the neck comes away in here somewhere, and you've got bolt here, So it's got much more wood around it. This is a neck through, so it doesn't have any bolts. I saved you as a seller, Marco666, and not showing anything for sale on Facebook Marketplace. You might not be a member of the site I've got it on. If you type in Iron Brewcaster, I'll send you a link, Rocket Ronnie. Well, we really want to buy guitars from China, but worried I don't get them. Border control not funny and stuff coming in. It's copies. I don't know. It's like if you're buying it from AliExpress, it's a total gamble. I mean, the thing is that I was buying in Shenzhen. I was buying guitars from a site called Taobao, but because I was in Shenzhen, okay, it wasn't Shenzhen. It was still 500 miles away or 1,000 miles away from the city that was actually making them. And it was like £4 delivery. So basically, if I was getting a guitar and it wasn't pure amazing, it gets sent back to the factory. So when I was buying guitars, I was getting the best ones. Also, Civet was nice enough to be a little bit sneaky about it and saying, yes, blah, 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 Mad Malcolm guitars from the UK. These are sample guitars. So if it turns out to be good, maybe get a big order in the future. So they were obviously giving me the best ones. So I was getting pure stunning guitars. And to smuggle them back into the UK or back into Scotland, I just dismantled them, had them in my suitcase. Yes, they did have Fender on the headstock. I never paid any customs on them or anything like that at all. I just totally smuggled them. But my thinking was they were that cheap. I was willing to, if they wanted, even if it was a 50% tax or whatever, or import duties and stuff, that was still coverable. They were still well worth it. Or even if they took it off me, it's like pure right, 50 quid. Well, it was worth a try. You know what I mean? It wasn't £1,000. You know, it was like I could have possibly lost. I'm interested in the natural beauty of Scotland. A bit nervous about Glasgow hooligans. Hard men, yes, but only if you piss us off. You'll be totally fine if you're smiley and nice. Absolutely fine. It's like it was at one point it was like the stabbing capital of Europe or something like that. But it's like nobody ever gets mugged. No. The only people that get stabbed were gangsters who deserved a stabbing. You know what I mean? No, you're totally fine. There's certain areas I probably wouldn't walk about in the middle of the night, but I mean, nah. It's fine. It's like basically you can convert any Scottish person and go like, I was at Loch Lomond, it was amazing. But yeah, you're basically by not being English as well is a really good thing. It's just like go up here. Could you tell me where the bus station is? I'm not English. All right, cool. That's a joke, by the way. Rob Chapman is a tosser. I'm sorry, I think he is. I think he's probably very nice. I'm sure he's all right. I'm quite happy with it. People make Glasgow. Yeah, no, I mean, Glasgow is lovely. The thing is, I remember, I'll tell a bit of a story. I went down to London. I was sorting out my uncle's estate. He died, this is maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. It was the middle of summer in a bad mood. So I obviously down dealing with a dead relative. It was horrible. And London was absolutely horrible. That was really when I felt, I think it was before the independence referendum. And it was like, it was horrible. And I remember going to a mall with my dad just to get, I think it was just dinner or something we're trying to get. And everybody was so nasty and horrible. And there was folk banging, you know, like you just walk through the mall, banging into each other, going, hey, what are you doing? And pure fighting and stuff like that. And I was like, oh God. It was a really bad vibe. But in saying that, on my defence, it was really hot, which puts a Scottish person in a bad mood anyway. And I was dealing with the death of a loved family member. And I had a really bad time in London. I really hated it. And then that weekend, I came up to Glasgow and it was sunny. And I went to the High Street car park, which isn't there anymore. And just parked the car up. And I was just going up to the ticket machine to put my money in. And then a guy pulled up in the car next to me and goes, up here, hey, either you two want an hour? I've still got an hour left in this ticket. You can have it. And then immediately following a 10-minute argument with me and the guy next to me going, no, you have it. You have it. No, you have it. No, you have it. And it was like, that was the difference. And then I can't remember. I think to be honest, what we did was, right, tell you what, I'll take it. Here's £1, I think was how we got round, how we managed to back down. Because the two was like, no. I don't need it. I don't need the free ticket. You have it. It was like a big adventure game. I was like, right, I'm not taking it. There's £1, right? Or no, I think what I actually did was had the ticket and I stuck £1 in the meter and ran away. And the guy was like, that bastard. And then that's the difference. So many tenants been looking at eBay. I don't do Facebook. All right, I know. I don't put Facebook's just changed. Facebook has now put eBay has just changed, which is difficult. Something to do with you no longer using PayPal. You need to put your bank details straight into eBay, and it won't make much difference to the fees you pay. It might even be less, as the tagline. And so basically, everyone who's got an eBay account has to reapply, no longer using PayPal. Now you're giving money to eBay, and the way it's worded, it just reeks of con. So I think that's why there's not very many guitars on eBay. You can use Facebook, but don't use it as yourself. Use it for guitar pages and stuff like that in the bands you like. Don't put your friends on it and your relatives when they're moaning at people posting up, oh, it's sausages for dinner tonight. None of that. Just avoid it. I mean, I'm on Facebook myself. I don't know if anyone, I don't really broadcast what my real name in. My second name isn't Malco and my first name isn't Mad. But it is when I put things on Facebook. I should really have a Mad Malco Facebook account now I think about it. But I mean, I just don't comment. I spy on people. Everyone I know is on it, so I know what all the people that are my friends are doing. But I never post anything on Facebook as myself. Maybe sometimes if I'm out in the boat or something, it's kind of, maybe. Contact. I think Scottish Blood. Yeah, I think most of America does, because England decided that it was more profitable to have sheep. Let's just burn all the houses and then ship them off to America with no money whatsoever. Half of them will die in the ship. That'll be great. Right, let's not talk about that. London is horrible, but I mean, that's the thing. It's like, it's just nasty. Not everyone's horrible. The last time I was in London was Baby Metal. I went down on my own. I met my pal Wayne there. So I arrived at 6 a.m. Thought I would be able to sleep on the bus. Bus was a nightmare. Couldn't sleep at all. So I arrived at 6 a.m. I got to whatever it was I was meant to be meeting Wayne, like 4 hours to wait. And I was just like, what are you going to do for 4 hours? And literally this guy was like, admittedly, it was a cyclist who was dressed in lycra, not an old guy. Was that Pierre? Excuse me, mate, can I help you? You look lost. And it was just like, just a nice guy. I was like, yeah, which is very different from the previous times I was down in London. I was like, yeah, well, what's happened is I'm meant to be meeting my pal, but he's not coming in until like 12. And it's like, what can I do? And he was like, yeah, well, yeah, it's just the Horse Guards parades, like about a mile over there if you want to walk over. Just a nice guy. And it was lovely. And I went to the Horse Guards parades and watched the horses and the things, and just felt so much that this is not my country. I'm Scottish. I hate this. But it was a lovely guy. There's nice people everywhere. They're just lied to. Yes, I'm sorry, Jez. I know. I'm going to give up anyway. It's been on for nearly 2 hours. It's difficult. I'm saying at the time when I was down in London and had a bad time was because I was dealing with my uncle's death, and it was really, really, really hot. Yeah, I'm sorry. I will not do any more politics if I could possibly avoid it. Half Swedish, half Scottish, and half Cuban. That makes you 1.5 people, which is difficult. Okay, right. So on that note, I'll end it, and I'm sorry I got political. I got steaming, and I talked about it. I'm totally trying to avoid. The reason it came up is because I was saying that I was condoling things to the English team for not winning the football cup thing, and I thought that was quite. Yeah. Okay. Rock on. Catch you all later. Thanks very much. Love you all. Oops.